Hello, horse players. Welcome to Oaklawn Capping Hour. We have a special guest today, and we have moved our special guests from Friday to Saturdays because Saturday is the big race day, for horse racing. And a lot of people are like, why do you got these guys on Friday for? Get these guys on Saturday. And this Saturday is actually a good Saturday to do it because of a lot of good action across the country, lots of tournament play, big racing in Florida, big racing in Texas, and everywhere else at Oaklawn, of course. So we have Nick Tammaro. Nick is a very accomplished horse player. I'm looking at Nick's profile right now. You cashed last year, Nick, for $15,200 at the NHC, and you also cashed in 2018 for $11,000. So you did really well, and with a couple extra horses here and there, you could have made the final table. I'm sure you had a couple of horror stories on those 2 days, but
no shortage of them.
But so good work there, and I know you're a busy guy. You haven't played as much this year. And you are the track announcer at Sam Houston. I had the pleasure, I think a year ago or 2 years ago when we were at the contest, to get in the booth with Justin Dew. And I think, Marco, you were there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were up in the booth when you called one of the races, and that's the first time I ever did that. And seeing you guys hold the program, have the binoculars, looking here, looking over there, doing this, and like not skipping a beat, that's an art. So I give you guys credit for that.
That's very kind of you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think we packed about as many people as you can in my booth. I mean, with me, there's not a lot of room left in there. So it's, it was a lot of fun. It's great having people up there. And, I guess I come from the school of announcers that like having people in the booth. So the person that I spent the most time with, at least in my pathway to getting to call the races at Sam Houston, I shouldn't make it sound like he's older than me, because I'm actually older than him. But Travis Stone was at Louisiana Downs for years, and Travis always said yes when people wanted to watch a race in his booth. I mean, he has somebody in his booth for the Kentucky Derby. So not a fan, but obviously it's somebody from NBC. But so I always say fine, and our mutual friend Mike Steinler has taken advantage of that on a number of occasions. Funniest story that I won't get into too many or take too long, but so Mike would love to bring people up to the booth, generally fans, owners, sometimes people that he knows would enjoy it, racing fans. So they leave the gate. It was on a Monday last year. I think it was either Martin Luther King Day or President's Day. They leave the gate and the door to my booth swings wide open. And I'm like, what the hell is this? I mean, the stewards must be telling me that there's an inquiry or something out of the gate. And I turn and look, and it's Mike Steinler with a fan that wants to watch. And I'm like, come on, Mike, come on. And I had to turn around and keep calling the race. And so he apologized profusely afterwards. And I said, Mike, totally cool for you to come in anytime, but you need to come in before the race.
Yeah.
So, he got that down.
Well, he got it down for us. He made sure that we were all huddled up before the race. And we got in there, and that was a really cool treat seeing that. I don't know if you've frequented Arlington Park a lot. You probably went to some of their tournaments back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember John Dooley calling races upstairs up there. And, of course, I think they had a bigger booth up there than what you had. But it was I
think everybody has a bigger booth than I do.
So, anyway, Nick, you're a very good horse player. I wanted to get you on because, Sam Houston has a really big day. There's a lot of stake races on the card, and we have a big tournament. Me and Marco are coming down for the NHC tournament that you guys are having. And for me, as a double qualifier, they're giving out seats for next year, which is really cool. And I am hanging around that Mendoza line to get some money for the tour. And I need one more score to get in the top 20. So if I do well down there, maybe that could help me out. So that's why I'm going. And Marco is looking for his first seat still. He's had a lot of tough beats. So he's
I'm not qualified yet.
But you have a lot of points, Marco. So even if you get in the top
not
5.
Enough. No, I don't have enough points either yet. So I need a good score or a clinch.
Yeah, and I think with you, I don't know if the points are you're either gonna qualify or you won't really make a lot of points. Although with 100 live, I mean, it'll be over 1,000 points. We also have the Pegasus World Cup, And we're going to talk briefly at the end of the show about the World Cup. We're not going to dive into the other races. We will dive into the last 3 races at Sam Houston after we talk about the Oaklawn card. Marco, I wanted to get a weather report in Hot Springs. Yesterday when we did the show for Friday, you mentioned it was going to be raining a lot. And Nick, I talked to Texas Mike. He said it's raining down there by you too. So I hope all that weather kind of shifts away by the weekend.
Well, it was supposed to be raining here, thunderstorms during the day here. It got shifted to later today, but it warmed up. It was in the mid 50s. So everything kind of thawed out. We'll see about the rain overnight. If it does, it's just going to rain into the morning, and then it's supposed to stop and be pretty nice for Friday, I believe, and Saturday racing.
Okay.
Supposed to be sunny and dry.
And then Nick down in Houston, I mean, you guys get rain, but does the track dry out pretty quick? What's the story there?
Yeah, we had a pretty sandy main track, a lot of Brazos River sand. So it'll dry out. It actually takes a lot for it to get incredibly wet. So it's a track that probably doesn't dry as quick as some others, but it also doesn't get wet as quickly as others. And I mean, part of that is that we'll get a flash thunderstorm here that could drop, 2-3 inches in an hour. So we've probably had, I mean, the metro area has some spots that have had as much as 6 or 7 inches of rain in the last 3 days. Wow. We've probably had about 2 to 3 around the racetrack. So it is supposed to clear up tomorrow, and it's supposed to be a sunny day on Thursday, and Friday it's not supposed to rain. So I think we should be good for Saturday without issue. I mean, we could lose the turf races on Friday night, but we're also dropping the rail to 0 for the first time all meet. So, I mean, basically everyone's going to be running on fresh grass. So we're going to be in very good shape for Saturday. Saturday right now is going to be a beautiful day. It's supposed to be low 60s and sunny, which last year on Houston Racing Festival was the first year it ever rained. And so it rained a pretty decent amount, and the track was on the wetter side. So I think we're in a better spot this year.
That's good information. Dropping to 0 for the first time. That'll play fair across the board for everybody. Closers, speed, whatever. Obviously, if they move the rails way out, that's more. That's better for speed horses. But Sam Houston's turf course. I always compare it to Arlington Parks, which to me, those were the 2 best turf courses I've ever seen. Arlington Park had the most beautiful turf course, and Sam Houston has a beautiful turf course. I've been to a lot of tracks with turf, and I'm like, it looks like a Muni golf course, like just all tore up with your 9-iron. I mean, but I was amazed at how awesome the turf course looked at Sam Houston.
Yeah, obviously a pretty easy place to grow grass with a tropical climate. We had a particularly rough summer last year where it just didn't rain, which, normally for people that aren't as familiar with Houston's climate, it sucks. But to be perfectly honest, it's kind of a brutal place to live in terms of weather. But I mean, all kidding aside, for 6 months of the year or so, it's actually perfectly pleasant. But we just had a tremendous amount of heat last summer with virtually no rain. And normally, I mean, we're a climate where it rains 60 inches a year. So, I mean, we're going to pretty steadily get, you could compare it to a place like Orlando. We're going to get some pretty regular rain on a daily basis almost in the summer. And we went 2 months without getting a drop of rain. So the turf course suffered a little bit. They had to work with it a little bit earlier in the year, but I think that actually worked out well. So what they do is overseed the Bermuda with rye for the winter so that the rye can take root usually in November into December. And what the rye needs is a little bit of cold weather. So we got it for us, which, was 30s and 40s at night, which, last week here, it was below freezing for 2 days. So, I mean, our climate it can get cold. I mean, obviously it's extremely hot in the summer, so we kind of get the worst of it. But no, the turf's looking really good. Our turf course is good enough that we don't even replace divots. So, I mean, it's pretty.
That's what I noticed.
Pretty tough to beat. Yeah.
Nice.
All right, good deal. Well, we'll talk about a few races at the end of the Oaklawn races here. Let's dive into these Oaklawn races early on. We're just going to breeze through some of these. Not breeze through them, but we'll talk about them a little bit. Marco, we're doing the show a little early because I'm traveling, and thank you, Nick, again for coming on. And
Sure.
I don't have the graded entries yet, and maybe you do, Marco, but I don't have the final morning line today. I don't even have the post positions. I have to go to Equibase just to get my post positions. But in the first race here, I looked at Nyquick in this race. It's a main special weight for 4-year-olds or 3-year-olds and up. So there's a lot of older horses in here as well. And Nyquick is I believe Brad Cox? Yeah, Brad Cox runner. And it's 30, he's 32% blinkers off. I think he's been pointing this horse here. And that horse that this horse ran against, the company line, if I'm saying it right, Moulion. I mean, that thing ran off the screen last time. It got a huge number. I think it was like 100 by our speed figure, 1 by 10 lengths. So it just had everything going up against it. I think it gets, believe it or not, class relief here, unless there's another monster like that. So I went with that one on top. Where did you land? The one?
Yeah, the one, Ben Franklin, coming off a little layoff, but I like the connections. La Peru and Peak are winning, 19%. And this horse, I think we haven't seen the best. Good race last time out in Churchill. Got a little breather now, and should be able to sit a nice stalking trip, saving some ground on the one hole. And I just pretty much I just like it all the way around. Coming out of some tough races, so we'll see what happens.
Okay, Nick, did you have? I mean, I didn't really want you didn't look at these early races. If you have anything to add, you can as we go.
Sure. Yeah. No. Both of the horses that you guys mentioned are particularly fast for maiden special weight runners. I mean, you're talking about Ben Franklin's run better than the Beyer Par at this particular level twice already, which you don't see terribly much, and Nyquick basically has as well. So, no, it'll be interesting to see how some of those faster Churchill races shake out in terms of subsequent efforts.
Okay.
Real quick, I got the graded entries. I was pulling that up while I was trying to explain that.
Yeah, yeah, you got the morning line on those horses. They're probably dead favorites.
Yeah, Nyquick 3-1 and Ben Franklin 7-2. So they're shorter, but
I'll take it.
Solid bets.
All right. Race 2 is a 30,000 claiming event. Non-winners of 2 Life. You gotta love these purses, Nick. $40,000 for these horses that have only won one race. I landed on the 10 horse here, who is Red Line Overdrive. And Red Line Overdrive, what I love about this horse, actually, it's the trainer, McKnight. Norm McKnight's been really hot this year. He came on the Oaklawn scene about 5 years ago, came storming out of the gate. Then he was a little cool the last 3 years or so. He's been on fire with these, and this horse is no exception. It's training really well. Nice bullet on December 29th. After that last run at Woodbine and a subsequent work, maintenance drill, just 1 out of 2, minute 15, going 6 panels. These horses are all firing, and I just love the work tab, and he's bringing them in ready. And I just feel like maybe this one can pop the lid here. It's adding the blinkers. I'm not too excited about Ramsey Zimmerman, but hey, I like his runners, and even though those look ugly, it does have some early dirt form to point to that could maybe give you a little bit of confidence, get some tougher maiden specials over at Gulfstream and New York circuit. Mark, you landed on the 6 horse, who is Ben Dreamin'.
Yeah, Ben Dreaming. I landed on this horse actually last time out as well, I believe. Or if I didn't, I don't remember quite. But I remember the horse when it ran, and it caught my eye, so I seen it running today. And second off the layoff here, looks pretty tough. I think he could be kind of like right behind some leaders and be really close enough to give a good run down the lane. I think he has a good shot to win this race.
All right. Very good. Very good. Nick, if you have anything to add, you can. If not, I know you didn't really look at it too much. We were looking at the late pick 5. All right. Race 3. Marco, you could start off. I like your 6. I picked it as my backup in case of a scratch. But you landed on, is it Bear Oak?
No, Bear Oak.
No, excuse me. I landed on Bear Oak in the next race. We're in race 3. You landed on Fastened.
Yeah, Fasten. Okay, he's a second time starter out of the Asmussen barn. Ran for maiden special weight, 52K. Didn't really show much. It lost by 21 lengths. Obviously, you're doing a step down. They paid a lot of money for the horse, so I think they're maybe just giving up on it. But not a horrible workout, and you're getting second out. And I think if you get the lead in this race, you might be able to take it a pretty long way. And I mean, obviously, you got to like the connections in the class drop alone with this one. I saw a graded, what is it, the morning line on the graded entries. It was like 30-1. I don't think we're going to see that. Maybe it's a typo. And if you do, I just don't understand why.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think it just, that fairgrounds race, here's the deal. The race doesn't seem to have a lot of pace in it. I mean, I don't know what Commander Storm's going to do. I would assume maybe they will try to send as well, but that one's an Indiana bred. It showed some speed in that last race and just packed it in. So now you're dropping down like a few others, but it's Asmussen. So 30-1, that's kind of a pipe dream. I don't know where they come up with graded entries of 30-1 with an Asmussen. I landed on Phenomenal Dream. No, I didn't. I landed on top of the street. I don't have the post positions on these PPs, and it's throwing me a curveball. Top of the street, the Kenny McPeak runner. What I like about this horse, better sprinting, tough company lines. That last race, I think there was a stakes winner in there. Maybe it was two back with Legalize. I'm not sure, but there's a stakes winner in there somewhere. And I just feel like sprinting, dropping, getting, the Lasix now that you're 3 because 2-year-olds can't have Lasix. I just feel like all of that comes together. Like Peru was hot early on. He's kind of, I wouldn't say cooled off. He's 16%, but he was really hot at the beginning of the meet. And McPeak's been doing good the whole meet, and this horse makes a lot of sense on the class drop. Finally, getting down with some friends here, and I feel like just cutting back and running from the maiden tag, it should be ready to rock.
I like it.
So, all right. Race 4, until we get into our late pick 5, is just starter allowance, 37,000. We're going 9 panels, Marco. And you landed on the 3 horse. Is that Truculent?
Truculent. Yeah, hold on. Let me pull up the I had Houston up. Truculent.
Yep, Truculent.
Yeah, Truculent is dropping see here. We got this is a 10,000 starter. Truculent has actually been running against some pretty tougher tags. And this is the first one off the claim here for a trainer that I don't know who he is. Bentley Combs, not familiar with him. Only 34 starts, but he's 21%. And I like the rider, Chuan. He's hungry. And I think this horse could be forwardly placed here and in a really good position. I think, and I just judging off his last few races, I think he's already fit, fit enough to run a good race today.
Yeah, I'm looking up Bentley Combs. Not a lot of starters. He was at Oaklawn last year, and then he shipped a couple into Belterra. He went to Kentucky with a couple, and now he's back here. So he's probably a local guy. Maybe ships a few out here and there. But, he wins races. I'll give you that. And, he claimed this horse for 40, and it likes to win. So maybe it's and it likes Oaklawn. So there's a lot there to possibly upset the apple cart here. What did the graded entries have on this one? Not that that's, written in stone and gospel, but
5-1.
5-1. Okay.
5-1 on Truculent.
All right. Well,
so I mean, it's a square price.
All right. Well, I like Bear Oak. Bear
Oak 7-2.
7-2, I'll take that. Bear Oak, very classy. I mean, this exits a super, super tough race. You know, you see Escapologist in the feature on Friday, I believe. And I think I picked that one second behind another runner, but that's a classy animal. Money Supply is really nice. So it's exiting a really tough race and was on a muddy track, even though it did win on a sloppy track going 9 furlongs. But I feel like today's, you know, Torres is really riding well lately. He was off to like I want to say he was like 0 for his first 15 or 20 starts, and now he's at 15%. So he's been really picking it up. And you know, Amos claimed this horse for 80, 2 back at Churchill at 1 that day. And they ran it here in that tough race. And I just feel like this one for 10,000 starter. I mean, this is a step down. And did you say 7-2? I hope I get that.
Yeah, 7-2. It was actually on the top, lukewarm, you know,
all right,
favorite. So,
okay.
You never know how these
all
people
right.
do that.
So there we go with those.
So just wanted to throw in there. So Bentley Combs and Marshall Graham is my friend. He's 10 Strike Racing. So he claimed Truculent with an eye on the Trail's End. So this is like that's Marshall's Derby.
Oh, 10 Strike. Yeah.
Yeah. So he claimed Truculent with an eye long term on the Trail's End. And so Bentley and Marshall won the Trail's End last year with Hell or High Water. And also, I think maybe didn't win the Trail's End, but won another long distance race with I forget the horse's name. He was a gray horse. He ended up running second in the Birdstone at Saratoga. Looked like he was going to win at the 8th pole also, and came up like a head short to one of the good distance horses that year. Not Lone Rock, but whoever was winning at the time. So Bentley used to be Dallas Stewart's assistant and more or less trained Forever Unbridled throughout her career. So he's a good horseman, just hasn't really had a great number of horses. Original Intent was the horse's name I was trying to come up with.
Well, he wins, and you know, because I thought they were using Scherer, but I didn't notice 10 Strike Racing.
Yeah, Marshall mixes it around a little bit.
Yeah.
He does primarily use Matt Shire, but he'll have horses with Bentley and Lindsey Schultz, and then the bigger partnership horses will be with Brad Cox. But you know, as time goes by, Brad's barn's getting a little bit too big for partnerships. So they spread the love a little bit.
That's good. Okay, so we're gonna have to keep an eye, Marco, out for Bentley Combs. I mean, the guy wins, and he's already got a win at the meet in 2 starts. And this horse looks pretty tough. If my top pick doesn't beat it, but yeah, Truculent looks pretty good. And go Marshall Graham. Race 5 is a 50,000 non-winners of 2 live claiming event going 6 panels. These are for fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and up. And I landed on the 1 who is Code for Success. I mean, my reasoning here, I let Hartman, first of all, and it's a confirmed closer in a race that's really laced with a lot of pace, in my opinion. And I like it better than the other closer that's in here. And, you know, we're 28% first claim with Hartman. So he gets these horses and wins with them right away. He's actually raising it off the claim. And I think everything's kind of sets up pretty well. If the horse is ready to rock, and I'm assuming it is under Chris Hartman, I think it might join in at the quarter poles where I'm getting at. It might just swoop by everybody late. I see you have it as your runner up, and you like the 4 as your top pick.
Yeah, I got Key to Success. The other closer.
Right.
I just thought this race was filled with a lot of speed. And I'm not sure if really any of them are like world beater, just speed, dominant speed. So I think this is going to be very, very, very heavy up top, where Key to Success is fresh off the claim and has a run over the track, which I like. And we got 21% first claim here, and Rocco Bowen is due. Bowen is due.
Well, we got 2 closers.
2 closers.
2 closers. Who's the 5 that I like? We won't dive into that right now.
Yeah, and
I
picked this one over yours just because I like the recency over the track. kind of made my decision for me.
I went with the connections, and I like the confidence of Hartman raising up to 50 from 30. Okay, pick 5 time. Nick, I'm going to let you start off race 6 here. The 6th race is a 30,000 claiming event. Non-winners of 3 life, $44,000 purse. We're going 6 furlongs. Where did you land here? I'm interested to hear.
Yeah, so I thought I'd take a little bit of a shot here, and I went to the far outside, low percentage connections with Kim Poole, still looking for the first in the money finisher of the meet for her barn. But Midnight Majesty to me looks like he could get loose in here, and this is a pretty big class drop, right? I mean, this horse has been consistently running against allowance horses, including most recently at Oaklawn, down to a 3 life claimer. So no doubt he's getting some pretty serious class relief. Again, we're doing this without the morning line. I would imagine this horse has to be at least a pretty decent price. I know that I'm not the only one who might realize that based on pace figures, he's got a pretty sizable advantage here early, but it's tough to take these connections as seriously and planning on them being, mid single digits or so. So I would imagine this horse is probably about 8 or 10 to 1 in here. And I wasn't all that excited about really anybody else. I understand that Forever Cool could probably come right back and win off the Diodoro claim. I don't generally love 2 life to 3 life class jumps. Infiltrator made perfect sense as well with a good effort last time, but I thought, why not try at least something that might be a bit better price?
Okay, very good. I actually landed on...
I'm looking at the graded entries for Midnight Majesty, and it's 6 to 1.
About right, I'd say, yeah.
Yeah, they're close usually, sometimes.
Yeah, I'm gonna flash my pick 5, and Nick, I'm gonna update this because I'm gonna be adding your horse
Perfect.
or horses in to make it bigger, but that's what I have so far. I like Infiltrator. What I have for Infiltrator is lightly raced, protected. Really needed the last race. It just makes sense. It had some issues. It was avoided claim a couple of times. I gave it some time off. It was a waiver claimer last time. And I just feel like those are all positives that, we're running here, we're protected. We didn't want to lose it last time. And it must be feeling really good. And I think it might be able to pop in this spot. Marco, I see you have that as your runner-up pick. What do you like about the 4?
I liked he's been knocking on the door in some tough races. Dwayne Lucas, American Pharaoh. And I did that bullet at 1 out of 159 on January 11th. Just popped at me, and I'm like, I think this horse is ready to win. Some good numbers. So,
well, here's the deal.
That's pretty much it.
It doesn't win often, okay? But you are taking the deepest plunge down the 30 from its previous low 40 where it ran second. So I guess you could point your finger to that. I mean, if that is an eye-popping drill, I'll give you that. But it's always worked well, even at Saratoga. But that was Saratoga. Those are tough races. Maybe it can win here. It's the lowest level ever. It just doesn't like to win, but sooner or later, it's going to find its slot. And you're right. Maybe today is the day that it finally gets it done. For me, I could put it on top just because of the poor race record, but duly noted on everything that you said. So I'll throw it on the ticket just in case. All right. Race number... race 7?
Yeah, race 7.
140,000. This is this the family horse?
Yes. This is Lady J's race.
Yeah, this is Lady Nick. Where did you land here in this race?
I'd like to hear this.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I was a little bit more clever in terms of, and I've bet Lady J on the turf quite a few times. But as much as I'm skeptical that the Remington form will hold up quite as much, Flashy Lass's last couple of races are awfully good, and she looks like the horse to beat. seems to have more speed than she showed when she won at Keeneland 2 back. And I would have been skeptical of her running back to that race, given how much she improved and just how well Brad Cox's horses were running during Keeneland. But she actually came back at Remington and ran just as well, if not better. And Cinnamon Face, who ran third to her that day, did come back and win her next start, actually at Sam Houston. So, there's enough to go on there. I thought Bow Draw could be a little bit dangerous as well on the far outside. Third off the layoff now with a couple of improved efforts in switching barns. A little bit of a tough draw, but I'm a big Manny Esquivel fan, and I know he'll hopefully get her out of the gate into a comfortable position. So those were kind of my two. But I'm certainly interested to see what Lady J has back on dirt.
Yes, I would have liked to see Lady J go short stretch at a mile myself, and maybe send. We did put the bug. Marco, I know I think you picked her, but
yeah.
I
obligated to. Wouldn't I have had to turn you in if you didn't pick her for like?
One of us to say how to pick her. I mean,
well, listen. I love Lady J. We're running her here. She's stakes place. She's got some value as a broodmare. She's kind of like in that spot where you don't want to run her for a tag, and so we're gonna give her a shot here. Listen, Flashy Lass for me is a possible maybe down the line. I mean, she'll be in a stakes race after she probably wins this race, and maybe Apple Blossom down the line. I think she might be that good because the Apple Blossom isn't going to get a full field, and if she keeps winning like this race and another allowance race, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. But I watched that last replay. The jock had a hammer lock, a double hammer lock on this horse on the rail, just like she just wanted to go. And when she found she angled out, and he didn't even whip her, just hand rode her in, just drew off. It was, I just don't see her losing this race. I mean, do I want to single her? I mean, yeah, you could single her in the pick 5 at whatever, but maybe if the jockey falls off or if somebody else can beat her, then we can get paid. So I'm looking for a single in a race later on where it's really, really tough to single in that race. I'm going to look for a strong opinion. But Flashy Lass just looks like she could be taking the next step. Ironically, leaves the Brad Cox barn and stays here with Moquette. So I'm not sure what that was all about, but she seemed to respond really well, so I guess no big deal there. The 6 is my backup, Honey Run. Honey Run is a Hartman runner that is stretching back out, and she really ran a bang out race for 50 at Churchill, although that was a 1-turn race. But she ran a 2-turn race at Fairgrounds, if you dig a little deeper, March of 2022. By 8 lengths, she just drew off. So I'm kind of anxious to see her going back to turns, and I think she has a big shot.
Yeah, Flashy Lass though is the one. Yeah, that's the one that you're gonna have to beat in this race. And I was just thinking, okay, there's some young horses in this race, and then there's the older horses. It's almost like they forgotten their way. Like they have to figure out themselves again, and the younger ones, we don't know which ones are going to be good. So it kind of just was a hard race to handicap. If Flashy Lass don't show up tomorrow or Saturday, it's going to be a real head scratcher because I don't know which horse in there would want to even win. Right. I thought it was pretty tough. So,
well, for me, if she runs anything near that last race, she'll put on a show. And but hey.
No, what have you done for me lately? I mean, look at her, So
what do you mean?
Like that's what I'm saying. She's
her last race.
She's on her game right now. So
yeah, right. And here's the deal: for $140,000, hell, run third, run second. There's big money there. You run third to get $14,000. So no disgrace in any of that. And that's the angle there. All right, so race 8. Is a optional claiming 62,000 claiming event, non-winners of 2. These are for 4-year-olds and up, going 3 quarters. Marco, you landed on. Actually, we both landed on the same horse here, the 7, who is Life is Short. Life is Hard, and Life is Hard chased Ocho last time, Super Ocho, who I picked that day, if you remember. And Super Ocho got away with easy fractions. When I picked Super Ocho that day, the reason why I picked him because he never won at 6 furlongs before that day. I said, "There's nobody going to go with him," and nobody really did. He got to set really relatively slow fractions for an animal like that, and we ran a good race. Life is Hard. Hung in there with it. Almost ran him down, galloped out well, and second off of a little bit of a layoff, a nice little work tab coming in since that last race. So I think we'll sit right behind the main speed in here and possibly blast home. What did you see, Marco?
Pretty much the same exact thing. You're coming second off the layoff here, and then he chased lone speed, and then that's just something it's hard to do. Here you're not going to be chasing lone speed. There's going to be some dueling going on where it should make the leaders a little bit that much tired. He just looked really powerful in the last, just chasing that. I think he's the one to actually beat in this race. Great entries, having 4-1. I think he's going to go off as your favorite. Or co-favorite, closer to maybe 3-2 or 2-1.
Okay. My backup was Tut's Revenge. I think I'm saying that right. No, yeah, Tut's Revenge. We got our boy, the bug boy, the 10-pound bug on there. The animal, that last race, if Skelly is a Count Fleet favorite, I would imagine, Marco. And that was a tough field that horse ran against. It stumbled at the start. So you're getting a 10-pound bug, and if you can run some of those races like you did last year, you'll be right there. And you got a nice late time form number where you can be heard from late and do your best running if everything falls apart and we don't get the trip on our top pick. Nick, how did you feel about this race?
Yeah, I thought this was a super tough race. I think it's very contentious in that. You've got a lot of horses that I think can win on paper, and you're going to be dealing with a favorite in Easy Action that, ran these 2 sort of giant numbers that backed up some of the numbers he had run earlier in his career back in the fall at Churchill, and now he's returning off a layoff. And for all the great work that Norm Cassie did at Oaklawn last year, he's gotten off to a slow start, and he's off to a slow start at Fairgrounds too. So what a difference a year can make, right? I mean, he was winning at about a 35 to 40% clip last year at this time of year. And, this year horses don't necessarily have as many conditions, and Oaklawn's a tough place to win, period. So I think it's totally fair to be a little skeptical of that horse. I think that Radical Right is coming into the race kind of the right way. He feels like a horse that got claimed out of a probably a better race than it looks on paper. And I really don't know if a lot of those hardcore, hard-knocking $50,000 claiming types are really that much worse than 2 other thens. They're definitely not much worse than 1 other thens. And so Radical Right also feels like a horse who's going to settle and make 1 run. And this race is loaded with speed, right? So, one of the reasons why you guys like the horse that you do is you think he's going to settle and make 1 run. So I can see Radical Right doing something similar. He feels like a decent price too. And he's got races going back that are easily fast enough to win. So I was going to try him, hopefully at a decent number.
Yeah, that's a good, interesting pick. I actually picked him last time on the show, and he won for Pete Miller. And this is interesting. You get like a lateral. You go from Pete Miller barn to Steve Asmussen barn. So those are a big wig to a big wig. So it'll be interesting to see what Steve does with this animal. And you're right. Probably going to get a similar trip as my top pick and Marco's top pick, and it's going to be a rider's race. We'll see what the kid can do, and I like it. So that's one that I'll have to add.
Yeah, definitely don't want to leave him off. Here, you don't want to play a pick 5 at Oaklawn and have Asmussen off your ticket and he win.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
And I did, and the fact that I picked it last time. I mean, how do I not at least throw it on my ticket this time, right?
Sure.
All right. So Radical Right is, what number is he?
Let's see here.
My
Oh,
PPs
4
are
or
right.
5. He's number 5.
5, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
5. All right. So
10-1.
Cool. Let's go to the next race. Race 9. Race 9 is the feature. It's the 5th season. It's $150,000 for 4-year-olds and up, going 2 turns. These are potential, Oaklawn handicap type horses if they can win here and keep winning. My top pick in here was who was my top pick? Nick, how about if I let you start so I can get my graphic up?
Yeah, I think a lot of this race really has to do with how you feel about Durante, who's coming in from New York after getting on a real hot streak for David Jacobson. He won an allowance race at Saratoga in August, and I remember I was annoyed because I had the entry that ended up finishing. I think they were second and third in the second half of a double in the contest, and I had it on some of my own money, and they picked 5, and Durante got bet like he was just a total cinch, and he ended up winning like a cinch. And I cursed, of course, to myself, and then I tweeted something that probably wasn't terribly nice, and said that Durante would be in for 12-5 by the winter. Well, here he is in the 5th season. So it wasn't one of my better opinions of the Saratoga, where I think I had about 2 good opinions total. He's gotten very good, right? He's been really sharp. Maybe not quite as polished without Lasix, but I do think he ran very well. I think the running line belies the performance in both the Fall Highway and the Bold Ruler, even though they both look good. The Gravesend, he got involved in a relatively hot pace. He did kind of get outworked late by Rodney, who set that pace. So it wasn't a great effort. But he's really loose in here. I mean, this boils down to whether you're concerned about whether he can go the trip. But this is a horse who is a route winner on turf. He actually won. He won a turf route at Del Mar a couple of years ago on a day where the Simonovich family owned the last race winner, and I hit to pick 5, and it paid really well. So I forgot to. I ended up betting her again at Santa Anita a couple times, but she wired the field in the last.
Might have been a rapid transit or Valley Dancer.
Valley Dancer, it's exactly who it was. Yeah. So Durante won in that sequence at a good price. Like, I think I want to say 9 or 10-1, maybe even bigger than that. It was long on turf. So with all that said, he's a horse who can go long, right? So, I mean, if he's able to get the lead and start dictating terms to everybody else, this isn't really a particularly great field. So I could see him being pretty dangerous. I guess Brigadier General, in a way, is kind of the horse to beat, I would guess, because he's run some fast races around 2 turns. I don't know. I'm interested to see where Durante stacks up with these types.
Okay, I like it. For me, I landed on the 4, Seize the Night. And I just feel like this one is going to appreciate the cutback, and it's going to get a pocket run here. That last race, Marco, you picked War Campaign that day, and that was just a strong move by that runner that day. Strong quality in there. Came back and won a stake on turf, and just a fast animal itself that ran 3rd that day and won next time out. So I like the company line out of that last. Has done some good work here at Oaklawn, and I don't know. It was kind of like a hunch. Like, I think I'm going to get a really good trip. It's not a big field, but that's where I landed. And again, Torres is kind of a hot rider right now. And then Silver Prospector was my runner-up, just because I've made some money on the horse before. And second off of a layoff, it might fire one of those older numbers, those better numbers that it's fired before for Steve Asmussen. Marco, I see you went to Silver Prospector.
Yeah, I just I think him just running in a lot of just tough graded stakes races pretty much his whole career. And you get in second off a layoff. I think the last one was more of just a tightener looking at this spot. So I think he's aiming at this race with Silver Prospector, and he's not one of his best horses, but he's made a lot of money over his career. Then the 6 wins are scattered. So I think this is one of the easier spots for a stake race that, he's been seeing, that he gets to see versus the past. So second off the layoff, I think he's primed for it, and I just like Asmussen on the with the big spotlight. So.
Yeah, I think he's going to be praying for just some insane pace scenario here where that one can make a nice deep run here. I'm hoping I can sit behind that first flight of maybe 3 and get first run. It's going to be it's going to be a rider's race, and we'll see how everything shakes out, because you do have some zip in here, and I see Hartman's throwing Nautical Star in there. Kind of deep waters for me, but that was an impressive race. I think you picked that horse last time, Marco, and that one made a really powerful move and comes in off that one with a nice drill. So they said, why not? Let's give it a crack. So this is going to be a fun race to watch. Nick, I'll add your horse on the pick 5 later when I update everything. And
one of these days, somebody's going to actually run Nautical Star in an Oklahoma bred race. I mean, there aren't a lot of big ones. I think there's like a $200,000 stake, but I mean, the fact that this horse has some ability and he's never taken advantage of that. I mean, he got purchased privately out of his second start from what looked like a homebred situation from top to bottom, owner, trainer, maybe even jockey. I don't know if Luis Quinones is related to Guetta and Nathaniel Quinones, but I remember seeing this horse run in the Florida Derby, and a friend of mine had said to me, this Oklahoma bred's actually pretty good. So one of these days, he'll run against Oklahoma breds.
Yeah.
He'd run against Oklahoma breds at least once if he was my horse.
Oh, you'd have to,
I'd be circling. That condition book would be printed off my computer.
Yeah. The Oklahoma bred classic would be my Breeders' Cup classic.
All right. The nightcap. And this is going to be fun, Nick. And Nick, before I dive into this last race, because it is an Arkansas state bred maiden special weight, Oaklawn Park, I assume you have been there before, or no?
I have, yes. 3 or 4 times.
Okay, good. And I've been, we've talked about the contest play at Sam Houston and all that, and we're excited to go there. We go to Lone Star. There's no NHC contests at Oaklawn. They used to have them, and we talk about this periodically with our, guests. They used to have a nice 2-day event with a buffet, and they gave out a lot of NHC seats. They stopped doing it, and I've gotten conflicting reports on why that is. Something to do with the NTRA. Then Churchill Downs has something to do with their single. And what do you know? Do you know anything? Maybe not.
I don't. I'd love for them to do it again. Unfortunately, they run primarily during a period of time where I'm pretty busy, but I'd love to sneak away for a weekend. But I know they did one. I want to say they did it in August years ago, something like that. Yep. So, you'd love to see them try it again, especially, I mean, what I can tell you on the contest space is that, obviously I've played primarily in live money contests for years now. And when we broached the topic of doing one at Sam Houston with the ownership, with the leadership a couple of years ago, I said, this is going to have a really, really nice effect on handle. And it was the one that you came to town and played in with Dylan and Justin, and the night of it was a contest that was at night, and I ended up in the GM's office afterwards, and he was like, I have no idea why I ever doubted this was a good idea. And he said, this was incredible. He said, and he was looking at, we were doing usually about 100, 110, 1,000 a night in on-track business. And we did like 340 that night. Right. So it just added a tremendous amount. And the contest had a ton to do with that. So, I mean, I think if Oaklawn being a place that has such an incredible on-track handle, if you could add to it, I mean, it's tough for a racetrack to turn that down. So I hope they can reconsider it at some point. And December would be a great time for them to do it. There really aren't any destination type contests in December. And if they were trying to build up a little bit of a soft opening before Christmas, it'd be a great time.
Yeah. And the times that you did go, you went, I assume, for the contests?
I did not, actually. I went during
okay.
I went like 20 years ago with my dad for the first time. We had always lived in Texas, never went. And we lived in Dallas for years. So I was in college at the time. And so we went up at the end of spring break and we flew to Little Rock, drove to Oaklawn, went to the track for 3 days. Then we flew back. The Southwest plane stopped in Dallas. I got off. He went on to Houston. And then I went in 2017 and 2018 both. I think I went in 2018 twice. Because from Houston, it's not a bad trip. I've drove once, flew most of the other times. But yeah, I mean, if you're in Dallas, it's a nothing trip. It's like 3 hours.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit longer. It's about 6 hours. So it's not terrible.
I just wanted to get your input on that because I've talked to so many prominent horse players, and I mean, it's the who's who list of horse players, and you wouldn't believe how many of them have never been to Oaklawn because they don't have a contest, an NAC contest, you know. But I don't know, maybe if I just keep squeaking like a mouse, and maybe they can work something out. So the last race here is a state bred maiden special weight for Archie breds, and Marco, I'll let you kick off the last race. You like the 10 horse here, who is My Julia.
My Julia, yeah. You got the street strategy here, Randy Morris, Esquivel. Really good connections. Morris is first starter, 24% right now. And not a bad work, January 7th. And if you go into his bloodline a little bit, he's got a full sister who has a win, but 5 seconds, earned $192,000 in 14 starts. And she won, I believe, she won first asking. So that kind of was like, hey, you know, if I can do it, you know, so if you can do it, so can I. Something to go off of. Arkansas bred here. And then I like the fact that, you know, we're breaking from the outside here. You know, I don't want to get all scrambled up in a tangle with a bunch of young horses that don't know what they're doing.
Okay. Yeah, your backup is my top pick, who is Aurora G. And, you know, it's Donnie Von Hemmel, local Oaklawn guy. And Quinones, I normally don't pick him personally on a lot of races because he screwed me up so many times. God bless him. But he's not a bad rider. He's actually riding well for his limited mounts this year. And this runner is actually half to a runner that made almost $500,000 at the racetrack, Miss Beans. And this one's also a same sire as yours, Street Strategy, who I don't know much about. But it's a firster in a race where the only other one that I wanted was the one with all of the races under its belt, just because it's coming out of the open maiden special weights from Iowa, Delta Moon, and it's run okay here, but it's kind of an unexciting pick. I just wanted to go with a firster and hope I can beat some of these other ones. Nick, do you have an opinion on this race?
Yeah, not much of one. I guess the only other horse that maybe has a bit of a look on paper is the 2 Ngala. I guess is the pronunciation there. I know Matt Dinnerman will get it right. But this horse came back from a layoff with at least a decent enough effort, got close to a hot pace before tiring late. So I figure you could probably find a way to throw her onto your multi-race as well. So
yeah, I have that one on the ticket. 100% makes perfect sense. And that one, you know, if you look at that race April 1st of last year, you run back to that. I mean, you're looking good. You'll probably just blow the doors off this field unless something pops out of nowhere. Interesting race. Maybe I was deep already in here. We'll leave it at those 5. I'll add some of your other horses that you like, Nick, and I'll post the ticket on the YouTube channel. And what I'd like to do next is segue into some of the Sam Houston races. We're going to talk about the last 3 races of the contest. The first one is the 9th race at Sam Houston. It is the Texas Turf Mile, race 9 of the card. It's a turf race, and we already talked about the rail being at 0 feet. And Nick, what was your strong opinion in this race?
Yeah, I'll tell you, this probably came up the best of our 3 stakes races, just in terms of being competitive. The Connolly's pretty competitive as well, but this is a terrific race. I mean, and I'm not just being a homer and saying that, because you've got a few horses that are lightly raced that are coming into this looking like they really could be anything, and they're mainly positioned towards the outside. when I was making the morning line for this race, I realized that the balance of power is sort of shifted towards the outside. But with that said, I mean, you also have Committee of One, who ran well enough at the beginning of his career to warrant a trip to the Breeders' Cup. He won the Indian Summer, and this was something that Steve Asmussen did similarly with Private Creed last year, who came up just short in the Bob Bork Texas Turf Mile. But I'm very intrigued to see what Neat has to offer. I mean, I think he could end up being a pretty nice horse. That Fairgrounds win on the turf was very, very good. And he came back in the Gun Runner with a bit of an underwhelming effort, but he's probably not a turf horse. I'm sorry, he's probably not a dirt horse. He's a turf horse, so he's getting back to the right surface. And then clearly, I mean, the other interesting horse is how good is Pink Polka Dots, right? I mean, we're going to find out, but this horse's debut was terrific. That was a very strong pace. If you're pretty much a pace figure user of any type, and he went on with it. He never looked back. Now Fernando Hara gets on board, and those of you who now are looking at Sam Houston this weekend and haven't during the meet, yeah, Fernando Hara, that's the same guy that rode Invasor 18 years ago. He's riding regularly at Sam Houston, still looks good on horseback, and is obviously a little bit older than he was when he had all that success back in 2006, but still a very competent rider, and he's got an excellent agent who's putting him on a lot of live horses. The Pink Polka Dots drawback is that it looks like there's a decent amount of speed in here. So if he's going to be able to get loose, the likelihood of him getting loose seems very low. Probably works more in the favor of a horse like Neat.
Yeah, I your morning line's spot on. I mean, Neat should sit the trip. You're in the 10 hole, but has won you won from the 8 hole. So, and it won powerfully in its maiden. So,
pretty decent one to the first turn too, so shouldn't get too hung up.
Yeah, so I feel like Neat is going to get a really good trip. The Asmussen runner makes sense just based on running style. If everything kind of gets too goofy up there, and it'll have to improve a little bit. Getting the late, I noticed. You guys get the race with Lasix for stake races in Texas.
Yeah, so we're not for the 2 graded, but we do for the non. Regular for listed or just regular or state breds for sure. Yeah, we do Lasix because obviously we're not a part of HISA, which is why the majority of the country is not going to be able to watch the races on Saturday. Yeah. But so we probably. I mean, it's my understanding that we could actually run our graded stakes with Lasix, but I think the concern there is jeopardizing the grade with the AGSC, so they wanted to stay away from that.
Got you. All right. So thanks for clarifying that. Marco, did you have an opinion? I mean, obviously we're not going to tip too many hands because we're in the contest, but so far I like Neat and I like,
the 2 outside horses are obviously like Neat is your major player here. And then Pink Polka Dots, is one that I'm keeping my eye out. I just want to see how that one runs, because winning out like that is very impressive on your first try. And winning this race, I mean, that would be very impressive. And then you might have something there. But I'll tell you who won't win this race, and that's the 5 Macho Grande.
Why do you say that? Oh, okay. I see why. Hey, Terry, God bless you. I hope you can get some, hit the board. Something might happen there. I'm looking again. Thinking. Yeah, Pink Polka Dots too might just be the speed of the speed too. Now that I look at it even further, I have to go back and watch. That's one of my hangups. Like Oaklawn's having a problem with DRF formulator right now in the replays. It's showing blue. Can't watch the replays. Obviously, with all the Twin Spires tracks, you can't watch replays. So that would be Old Arlington before they tore that down, and then of course Fairgrounds and Churchill. So I got to go back and watch that replay. But it might be the speed of the speed here. So it's going to be an interesting race. I don't know how I'm going to play it, but the horses that we mentioned are pretty much going to be involved with exactas, maybe doubles, things of that nature.
All sorts of good stuff. Yeah.
The next race is the Houston Ladies Classic. And this is a grade 3 event on the dirt. And Nick, just an awesome field here. Seven horses. Hidden Connection, you made the 9-5 favorite.
Yeah, just the biggest in terms of like scope of work, the depth of the races that she's running pretty much exceeds everybody else in here. And this is a race that over time's been won by horses like Forever Unbridled, Midnight Bijou, Latruska. And as the division has sort of thinned out in recent years, it hasn't quite had the star power. Pauline's Pearl did win it a couple of years ago and came back and won a grade one a little bit later in the year. But I don't think any of these horses are winning grade ones later in the year, with all due respect to their connections. I hope some of them can at least get some graded stake placings to help our grade as well. But yeah, it felt like, the concern with Hidden Connection is that she did kind of have this, what looks like a breakthrough type race last time, but she had it with Lasix. And I know there had been some concern in the past about whether she was quite as good off of Lasix. She ran well in this race last year. And actually was probably a little too close to the inside on a day where you kind of wanted to be a little bit farther off the rail. We had kind of a drying out surface that day, and it had rained quite a bit during the day. So I think she'll be pretty tough in here, breaking from the outside. The 6 Free Like a Girl is a Louisiana bred who's banked over $1 million. Been kind of a fun story. A daughter of El Deal who just seems to win pretty much relentlessly. And it's not easy to bank $1 million running primarily in state bred races, but that's what happens when you win 15 times. So she should be, I think she's a major player. I'll be interested to see if Freddie Manrique is aggressive with her out of the gate. It did seem like she ran her best race and has run the majority of her best races when she's been pretty engaged early. So you've got a couple of McPeak runners shipping in who have kind of gotten good of late. One of them down on the inside, Corningstone, was second behind Hidden Connection last time. And the other one, Dear Lady, has kind of come into her own with 2 recent wins. So they're both going to have to step up to win if Hidden Connection runs her race. But yeah, it adds some intrigue to it, as does Bellamore, who is new to the care of Steve Asmussen and has certainly knocked heads with some good horses throughout her career too.
I really struggled with this race. It has 7 runners. But man, I tell you, it's going to be a puzzle. And, even Perfect Wish. I mean, yeah. I mean, from 3 to 4, they grow up. And that last race was good. Didn't really improve as much on the Beyer speed figure as it did in July, the July win, but it might pop a better race second off the layoff. But this is all these runners are really talented, and for me, it's a dart throw. I do like the McPeak runners. I do like the Asmussen runner. The Louisiana bred, like you mentioned, 15 wins. Yeah, state bred stuff, but fast on a lot of those races. And I would guess with the early time form of 114, you're fastest early. You gotta go. I mean, you're not gonna rate the animal. I don't think. Although it did rate 3 back against Louisiana breds. So I really don't know what I'm going to do right now. I'm leaning maybe towards the Asmussen runner, but I don't know. Marco, what did you feel here?
I was kind of leaning towards the Asmussen runner as well, the 4. I mean, definitely battle tested, running in 11 straight stake races. Didn't win any of them, but hit the board. The numbers fit here, and the connections are always dangerous. But Hidden Connection should be able to put away, like, I think the 1 and the 5. How much is like some of the early stuff gonna take out of that one? I don't know, if any. And then you got Dear Lady. I think coming off 2 wins is another one you got to look at. So yeah, this race is a lot tougher than it looks with only 7 runners, like you said. So, but I'm leaning Asmussen because I just tend to lean that way a lot when there's like stakes races on the line and he shows up for a lot of them if he's got a good horse. So, and I kind of like he's getting the first run out of his barn. Just claimed this one, I believe, too.
Yeah, for me, man, what is Manrique going to do? That's the question. I wish I could say, hey, dude, what are you going to do in this race? Like an hour before the race. Can you give me a tip? Like, are you guys sending? Are you going to grab a little bit or maybe look for a target? That would be my question. I would really like to know what the connections are going to do with that runner. But hey, that's why we handicap these races and we make a guess and what they're going to do early so we can predict an outcome. And if we're right, we're right. But it's going to be a fun race, and I can't wait to watch it live and in person. The last race is the John B. Connolly Stakes. This is another Grade 3, and it's on a turf going 1.5 miles, $200,000. Lots of nice horses in here. Nick, it looks like I think you have the rail horse as a lukewarm favorite, if I stand corrected, at 3-1. Catch the party.
Yeah. So of course, I mean, we draw a week out, and I produce the morning line the day we draw. So little did I realize that a number of these horses were going to get re-entered at Gulfstream the next day. Now, word came out today that every cross-entered horse with Gulfstream is running in Houston. So Catch That Party, Red Run, and Palazzi are all running in Houston, which would lead me to believe that Mike Maker is sending all 4 horses. Which actually kind of makes for an interesting race in and of itself among those 4. So, you know, I'd say that Catch That Party is kind of the horse to beat. He followed up a good win, went stretched out to 1 mile and 3/8 with that nice effort in the H. Allen Jerkins last time. I still haven't figured out why there's a race named for H. Allen Jerkins. That's 2 miles on the turf. But he looks like a horse that's kind of coming into his own pretty quickly at a new kind of distance. And we've seen Maker do so well with these types over the years, you know, claiming horses and stretching them out or getting them off of trainer changes. Interestingly, Palazzi, who was also entered at Gulfstream, who is going to go here, he's gotten good as they've put more distance into him as well. And he actually won the Bob Bork Texas Turf Mile here 3 years ago. So be interesting. He won it in 2021, and Red Run, who's also in this field, won it in 2022. So it's kind of an opportunity for them to both regain some past glory on the Connolly Turf Course. We also have our 2 kind of big guns in the Texas bred turf division in here, Sunlit Song and Singapore Flash. And Sunlit Song is a horse who's actually run quite well against Open Company in the past. He's a multiple stakes placed against Open Company, and he's a stakes winner now, having won the Remington Green back in September, on the Oklahoma Derby undercard. I don't really know if he's going to have all that much trouble with the distance too. And the thing that's interesting about him is he'll be a lot more forwardly placed than some of these deeper closers from Maker's Barn. So I wouldn't be shocked if the venerable Texas bred is able to get the job done at the ripe old age of 9. So really fun race, and a race that Maker throughout the years has truly dominated. It's been kind of amazing that he's actually winless in the last 4 runnings of it. So he had won like 6 out of 7 before that. So no doubt he's well represented here.
Very good. Marco, yes. What were your thoughts on this?
You know, I don't like the 2, the 3, or the 4. But I was looking at this race, and Sunlit Song, what an awesome, wonderful racehorse this is. You know, as an owner, this is like the horse that you want. You know,
18 wins.
Look, he averages $17,000 a start, and he's collected a check in 30 consecutive races. And that is hard. The last time he did not collect a check was spring of 2019. Okay.
Wow.
And this race doesn't look like it should be something that he should be scared of. And I think he got a paid workout on January 5th, and I think he's ready for one more big run. Yes, he is 9 years old, and I'm wanting him to put together one more race because I really like this horse, and he loves the Houston turf. So this is I think it's a good spot.
Well, we'll see if we can get the 12 furlongs. That's the thing I got to see. But, you know,
yeah, I mean, there's not a lot in here I think can either. So, I mean,
true.
the one is the one that definitely the distance is not going to be an issue for sure. And I question this distance for pretty much all the other ones in here.
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually looking at a horse like even Street Ready. I mean, it's Nick's trying to cash a ticket maybe here. 20-1, and why not? I mean, it's one of the makers we've been talking about, and you know, you got some back numbers to look at. It's, believe it or not, one of the younger horses in here. There's a lot of 7, 8, 9-year-olds. And this is 7. Comes off a race at Fairgrounds where, all right, maybe it just didn't like fairgrounds. Maybe it just went wide out there. I'm willing to see one more, but if I could get some of those races that we were getting back in 2022, I mean, why the work tab says like, hey, Mike Maker sends it here. It's feeling good. It's working good. It's fat. It's run fast in the past. I mean, it ran a mile and 3/16 with a 98. I mean, I guess I could use that as a gauge for 12 furlongs. It's a little shorter, but why not? I'm going to have this horse on my ticket. I could tell you that. And I think the weight assignments, let me take a peek. It's, 116. Some of the other ones, some of the heavy hitters are carrying 120, 123 for Palazzi, for Marcassi. 123 on Singapore Flash. So I'm getting a weight, and at 12 furlongs, getting 7 pounds. That's pretty significant in my opinion. So that's my long shot. Look, hey, if it runs last, no one's going to make fun of me.
No, I like it. That horse, definitely a different animal in 2022. But yeah, why did this horse get claimed, and why is it running in this race?
Yeah, Maker claimed it. It's working great. It was fast, and to come here shows me some confidence off of just a terrible race. So maybe there was an extra slot on the truck. There's extra room for a fourth horse, but maybe not. Maybe it's feeling so to speak. All right, so I'm excited, guys. Hey, the Houston card looks great. It's an Oaklawn capping hour show, so we couldn't talk about the whole card, but I wanted to get those last 3 races in because they're going to be significant. The last race I'd like to talk about is the Pegasus World Cup. I went to the first one, Nick. I think Arrogate won it. I think it was Arrogate. And California Chrome drew the far outside that day, and everybody went there to watch him run. And a mile and 1/8, the first turn comes quick, and everybody knew that he was up against it that day, and Arrogate crushed. So this race here, not a very there's no Arrogate in here, put it that way, or California Chrome for that matter. I mean, Bob Baffert is the lukewarm favorite. I'm going to pass on that with National Treasure. Sure, the number came back really fast in the Breeders' Cup Mile, but that was the fastest race of its career. The local horse for course. It's never run here. Bob is Bob, but you got to try and beat it. And I don't know. I think that I'm really upset that Safi's horse, Skippy Longstocking, drew the 12 hole. I was all prepared to pick that horse. In the 12 hole, I can't do it, and I'm not going to do it. I'm probably going to go with the Brad Cox runner. 7-2. It's these horses mature a lot from 3 to 4, making its 4-year-old debut, working fantastically. Lost a trademark last time with a fast number in the Clark, and I think Brad's got this one dead ready. I love Saez too. I mean, I just feel like this colt could make a big name for itself in 2024, and you can see it in all the big races. And I think we're going to sit a good trip, and we're going to pop a new career best and win today. Nick, what were your feelings?
Yeah, I picked the horse that beat First Mission last time, Trademark, who I think is going to be probably again many times the price of First Mission. He was 13-1 in the Clark, where First Mission was a pretty heavy favorite at 6-5, and so I don't know if he'll be 12 times his price like he was that day. I wouldn't shock me though. I thought Trademark ran very well, and I actually think if you start to pick apart Trademark's past performances, he's really run well consistently almost every single time. He did run poorly in the Fayette 2 starts back. It was a little bit too close early in a fast-paced race, so I'd give him an excuse for that. I think he fits very well in here. I think there's going to be some pace. That should give him a target to run at late. I think that's about all he'll need in order to make some noise, and he's going to be a good enough price that I'm willing to kind of take that plunge. So I can't get behind National Treasure, who, you know, I know he ran a good improved race in the Breeders' Cup last time. Gives a lot of need to lead vibes. You know, he looks like a horse that probably really needs to dictate terms to everybody. And how the hell is he going to get the lead in here? Right. I mean, there's way too much speed signed up for him to somehow get loose on the front end. So I'd be happy to bet against him and look for some other options.
Okay. Very good. Marco, what were your feelings on the Pegasus World Cup?
I was leaning towards the Cox Runner myself so far. I haven't really dove deep into this race enough to make a selection on it.
Okay.
I am pretty much going to wait to the day of to make my final decision. But yeah, the Brad Cox Runner looks good, and then Nick's pick Trademark looks good, and I'm even looking at a horse like the Pletcher horse with Grant Aspen just a little bit right now, just as an early glance. So don't really know yet, but those are three I'm eyeing up.
Yeah, I wonder what Jose Ortiz and Sires are going to do. I mean, you have you're outside of National Treasure. I would assume that Bob's going to send with Pratt, and you know, I would like to see First Mission kind of like track a couple in here. If Jose wants to send the 9, great. If there's another one in here that wants to go with National Treasure, great. I would like to see First Mission kind of relax a little bit. I love the way he ran in that Nowhere's a 2 event at Keeneland 2 back. And if I can get a trip like that, that's the kind of trip that I want. And I've seen these 3-year-olds these 4-year-olds that are making their debut as a 4-year-old from 3 really mature a lot through the winter. I know it's not like it's off a huge layoff or ran, you know, around Thanksgiving, but nonetheless, it is going to be a 2-month layoff. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, not a big price. We'll see what happens. And it's a $3 million race. So, and it's the last race, I believe. Well, it's in our sequence of the contest. So I figured we would talk about it.
Yeah.
Well,
I can play that race to get in.
Nick, I appreciate you, Nick, coming on. Thanks for giving us your insight on some of the Oaklawn racing, and of course the last 3 at Sam Houston, and of course the Pegasus World Cup. I'll come say hello. Hopefully, maybe we'll stop up and watch you call one of the races again in the booth. And I don't know where Texas Mike's gonna huddle us up for the contest, but you can pop down and say hello to us as well before or after. Marco, I'm flying down the Hot Springs. Well, actually, Little Rock tomorrow. We're going to watch. We have 4 horses running Friday at Oaklawn, and then we're going to drive to Houston Friday night after the races. 6-hour car ride. We got the hotel set up.
Should be a nice ride. The rain will be gone. So,
You've never taken that ride through that route, so it'll be something new for both of us there. And we're excited to come to Sam Houston.
It's telling me to go south of Texarkana, so I've never. Yeah, we've only driven to Houston from Dallas, so we'll see. It's probably pretty much all the same.
It's a two highway ride, right? You're going to take 30 to 59, and that's it.
And then that's pretty much it. And go through some hood donks, and that's it.
All right. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us. We went a little long because we talked about a couple of races. But Nick, thanks again. Appreciate you.
You bet. Thanks, guys.
Continue your great work at Sam Houston, and we look forward to seeing you guys down there.
Very much so. Looking forward to having you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, all right. We'll see you Saturday.
All right, everybody. Oh, Mark, let's cash some tickets.
Let's do it.
All right. Later, everybody.